This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making news in Armenia today. An Armenian government spokesperson said today it was Baku that rejected an offer by Yerevan to set up a meeting between the two countries' leaders on the sidelines of a major European summit. The Azerbaijani side rejected this proposal. The offer of the Armenian side still stands, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ani Badalyan said in a statement. That came after the Azerbaijani president's chief foreign policy advisor told reporters earlier in the day it was his country that initially proposed another round of talks, which Armenia subsequently rejected. We regard Armenia's refusal to attend this meeting as a manifestation of its intention to withdraw from dialogue in efforts to advance the peace agenda, Hikmet Hajiyev said. Both Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev are taking part in this year's European Political Community Summit in the United Kingdom. There was no immediate response from Baku to Badalyan's remarks. Moscow's envoy to Yerevan has said Russia is waiting for Armenia to take unspecified further steps before it can establish a permanent diplomatic presence in the strategically important southernmost Syunik region. We are now expecting further steps from our Armenian partners, including taking into account the principle of parity and reciprocity as adopted in diplomatic practice, Ambassador Sergei Kapyrkin told the Russian state-run news agency Sputnik Armenia in an exclusive interview published yesterday without elaborating. Russia first announced plans to open a consulate in Syunik last year and has since indicated it expects to open its diplomatic mission there by the end of this year. The expansion of our diplomatic presence in such a sensitive region is intended, among other things, to reduce the potential for conflict in the South Caucasus, which persists and is constantly fueled by outside players, Kapyrkin told Sputnik. Syunik provides Armenia with a short but critically important land border with Iran. To that end, Kapyrkin said the Kremlin sees Syunik as a gateway for Armenia's and the Eurasian Economic Union's trade with Iran. The Eurasian Economic Union, a Russian-led trade bloc, signed a major free trade deal with Iran last year. Armenia is the only bloc member that borders Iran, which opened a consulate of its own in Syunik in 2022, becoming the first and so far only country to establish a permanent diplomatic presence in the region. There was no immediate reaction to Kapyrkin's remarks from the Armenian government. The European Union's foreign policy body has confirmed the appointment of Czech diplomat Magdalena Grono as the bloc's next special representative for the South Caucasus. The Czech Republic's permanent representation to the EU said yesterday on the social platform X. All eyes now turn to the Council of the EU, which must also give its approval to Grono's candidacy. A timeline for that was not immediately clear. Grono previously served as senior foreign policy advisor and chief diplomatic advisor to European Council President Charles Michel, as well as program director for Europe and Central Asia at the International Crisis Group. If confirmed, she will replace Estonian diplomat Toivo Klar, who has served as the EU South Caucasus representative since 2017. For his part, Klar is now nominated to serve as the bloc's next ambassador to Uzbekistan. The United States will, for the first time, dispatch a resident advisor to Armenia's Defense Ministry, the U.S. Undersecretary of State for Civilian Security, Democracy, and Human Rights has revealed. I can confirm this. We welcome deepening defense and civilian security cooperation between the U.S. and Armenia. This is part of the spirit embodied in the historic upgrade in U.S.-Armenia relations to a strategic partnership, Uzrazeya told Armenia's Hetk news site in an exclusive interview published yesterday, referring to plans announced last month to boost ties. Additional details have not been made publicly available. With the move, the United States is following in the footsteps of France, which announced plans last year to deploy its own advisor to Armenia's Defense Ministry. Continuing, Zeya dismissed the notion that Yerevan's membership in the Collective Security Treaty Organization, a Russian-led military bloc, limits Washington's ability to provide security assistance, saying, "I would note that our defense and civilian security cooperation has continued to deepen, while Armenia has remained a member of the CSTO." Earlier this year, Pashinyan indicated he had in effect frozen Armenia's membership in the CSTO, but the country remains in the bloc on paper. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 15. That's the number of athletes from Armenia who will take part in this year's Summer Olympic Games in Paris. Yesterday, one of those athletes, shooter Elmira Karapetyan, made history as Armenia's first representative ever to take part in the game's famed torch relay. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.